Lafredo on there, the Brian
Yeah.
1980?
Yeah, that's me. I'll probably be on mute and just listening because I'm in my store building a pasta feature right now.
You're in where? Your store?
Yeah.
At Walmart?
See, here I am.
Oh,
I'm building. I'm building this.
oh,
Wow, multitasking. I love
I want you guys to know you're being recorded right now.
it. Whatever.
Excellent.
This is all part of the public record now.
Perfect.
okay.
Well, Brian Lafredo, while you're here,
Yeah.
I'll skip ahead to something that I have in here. I can't even find it. Oh, old business, EDC alternate. Are you interested in being an EDC member, or do you want to stay an alternate?
Why? We need a regular person now?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah, one of
I
my,
thought Brian was already a regular member. I thought he stepped into regular membership when Bob Larkin stepped down.
No,
Yeah.
no. Bob was an alternate, so I'm an alternate.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
one of my AI from last meeting was to talk to John Sharp. And he probably is not going to renew, and he was going to resignation paper. I haven't seen it yet, but. So
Yeah,
I'm just,
I'd be fine with being a regular. I've been making the meetings, and next year I'll be retired anyway. So.
well, I'll tell you, I've been trying to retire, and I'm too busy.
I'm
with
just.
every work.
I missed what you said. Who's dropping off?
John Sharp.
Oh, John Sharp. Oh, okay.
Yeah, last meeting I said I would talk to him. We did have a talk, and he said he's probably going to step down. He was going to turn in a resignation, which I haven't seen yet, but that's where it stands from last meeting. So Brian would have the option of staying alternate, and we would, pick up a new member, or if he wants to be a new member, we'll get a couple alternates. That's all. So if Brian wants to stay muted, that was the main thing I wanted to talk about. That was in, like I said, under old business.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Brad. All right. So we've called to order minutes from last meeting from July 15th. Do we have any comments, changes?
One quick comment. Down at the bottom, there's a link that's supposed to take us to a recording, and when I tried that, it said the file wasn't there.
Which one?
On the bottom of the minutes, it says share recording with viewers. And
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I move those to the town's YouTube channel after a few days because I run out of cloud space. I can, if you find yourself in that position where you're looking for meeting recordings and you can't link to them, just tap me and I'll send it to you from the YouTube channel.
Okay.
But I can only store like 4 or 5 tops until I have to clear them out.
All right. I probably wouldn't have even tried to look at it except the link was there. When I clicked it, it didn't work. So that's the only thing I saw about the minutes.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to accept?
I move to accept.
Okay,
I'll second.
Okay.
You got
more?
that, Ashley?
Yeah. Joanne
Okay.
will make the motion.
Good.
And Charlie will second?
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Any opposed? Okay, good. Minutes pass. Joe, you have the treasurer report.
So, as of right now, we have $22,655 in our available budget.
I'm on speaker, by the way.
Can I ask who just came in, who's got last four-digit phone number 9747, please?
It's Ken.
Hi, Ken. I will name you.
That'd be nice. It's the first time I've used the phone.
Okay, now I can see you.
There you go. I'm going to mute myself and just listen.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking regarding budget. I was talking with Orla yesterday, and she said it looks like we have some money left for publication type stuff. Could that be used for the brochure, or are we getting? Is that another line item?
Well, which brochure are you talking about? Clarify, because there's two that you could be talking about.
Oh, well, I'm just talking about the one, the generate business,
Generate.
the app.
I think I designated that PO as, obviously I'm not at my desk, but it seems to me that I would have designated that PO as coming out of that line item.
Okay.
Is that
I
where
just
we have
haven't
a-
submitted it up yet because I was waiting till after this meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, because they always give us the use it or lose it, and I knew we
I'm
were
all
going.
for using it or losing it. Well, I'm not for losing it, but I'm all for using it.
Yeah, and I am too. I'm just not one who makes things up so that we can use it. I know we have real things to spend the money on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any more discussion budget-wise? All right, next up
What
is,
the budget sheet doesn't reflect is the money that's come in from the grants. You have $5,000 more than you will see here that came in from Eastern Connecticut Association of Realtors,
Oh, was that?
and $1,000 more from Bank Hometown. Now, I sort of keep a mental running track of that, because I'm the one that gets the checks and puts them in to the finance office. She's got those socked away for us, but for whatever reason, the accounting doesn't allow it to show up in the budget. But I've made very clear that anytime we get reimbursed for funds that you guys fronted, that money's got to come back to EDC.
yeah,
Anyway, just so you know, there's actually $6,000 more in hand under EDC than shows, and we still have the $2,500 from PLGV coming as well.
Why can't they show it on the budget as income?
I don't know, because there is no income line item associated with EDC, I guess. I don't fully understand it myself.
Yeah, they should make a line item called grants or something, because otherwise, how can the math can't add up if you don't have money coming in? So now we got six.
Well, what she has is a general account for grant monies received, and she tracks them herself in whatever way. But I agree with you, Joanne. I'd like to see those show up in the EDC budget as income. I'll talk to Orla about that again. I don't know why it's not. I mean, I understand why it wouldn't have been possible last fiscal year because it would have been in the middle of a year. I'm not sure why it wouldn't have been possible to designate that coming into the new fiscal year, but I mean, I know what's there. It's frustrating to me as well that I can't see it from month to month.
Yeah, but the point is you do. And if you weren't here tonight, how would we know that we still had $6,000 extra in the account because it's not showing up?
I agree. I agree with that point. Absolutely.
So do the same thing. We could have $100,000 extra floating around in the town budget somewhere, from grants or from whatever. And if it doesn't show up somewhere, to me, that doesn't make sense to hide it. If that's not, maybe that's not hiding it, but we're just not showing it properly.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
we probably never had a need for it before. I mean, We never really had a budget until recently, except to,
Yeah.
right? We had a $2,500 budget.
True, and we never had such a serious grant writer either. So
That's, yeah, this is on you, Tara. You're bringing in money and we have nowhere to list it.
Yeah.
So you're right, Joe.
Okay.
All right. For update on businesses in town, just this afternoon, I sent scans of 2 new adoption of trade name papers I picked up. One is DC Cabinet Refacing on Riverside Drive. Ashley, you have these too, so you'll be able to have the information to put in the minutes.
Yep, I saw them come through.
Okay. The other one is Dave's Small Engine Repair on Quantic Town Farm Road. So that was it for this month. I don't know if any that closed or any other openings. Does anybody have anything on businesses?
T-Rex is.
I know that a couple of people came in for home ox to Cindy, but I don't know that it's either of these two. I think that they're additional ones. So you just haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and T-Rex, we had that on last month's minutes, Joe.
I'm just commenting that it's busy every time I go by there. So that's a great.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I will say for what's going on around us with this pandemic, T-Rex has been busy every time I've drove by as
Yep.
well. I think Dan down at Milltown Grill is doing pretty damn good. I
Yep.
know Anya's been busy, so I think it's great. I think it's good. People are supporting their local business. That's good.
Yeah. Well, even, Our Father's Table has been doing pretty well, and Thompson House of Pizza.
Yeah, yep, true.
When I go, so yeah, it's good. Little time. I mean, we don't have retail, but we do have food.
That's what I need.
Well, there's always an upside. Okay, so no more business updates. Next up is citizens' comments pertaining to agenda items. And that would only be Ken if he had something to say. And I guess he doesn't.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Old business, the only item under old business, I had the EDC alternate, which I already brought up with Brian. I'll check with John again and see if, if Tira didn't get a resignation and I didn't get one, I imagine Renee didn't either. He didn't know who to give it to. But maybe he's still thinking about it.
Maybe.
But I'll check again. I'll talk to him this week. Either way, we don't have people, in line to join us. So, yeah, and the person I talked to last month, I haven't seen since. I'll have to remind her that we may have 2 openings. What about, okay, next up is new business, which I didn't have anything new to add. Does anybody have anything to add to that?
I guess I'll just say that I'm glad it came in at the budget. So that's good. With only 1 bid, I know we had some back and forth on that at one point, Tira. So that's good.
I'm sorry. I'm not following you, Brian. I was just looking.
I'm just glad
for a
that
copy of
you
the-
and I had some back and forth on emails about that. So I'm glad it came in at the budget that you were looking at.
Oh. Yeah.
With the foundation work. So that's good.
Oh, yeah, and that's under progress reports. Yeah,
I showed that to 2 guys. I'm not looking at the agenda, Brian.
Yeah, sorry.
So you guide me. That's fine. But I did have 2 guys look at the foundation with me last week. one of whom is local, so I'm hoping he turns around and actually submits the bid. Brian,
You hasn't come in yet. It looks like he.
no, I left it open. That's why I was confused. I left him open until the 28th, but the site walks that I was offering were through last week. So I had two guys come on one day. A third guy made an inquiry, but he obviously thought we were Thomaston. I looked at his business address, and it was from Wappingers Falls, New York. I said, "Are you sure you know where you're headed?" And it turns out on the BizNet site, I guess there's something that happens when you post on the state website as opposed to just our own bid site, where they must have an algorithm that makes assumptions about what the project is. Because one of the guys who came said, "I saw online that this was a $200,000 project." I was like, "No, this is a $10,000 project."
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. Well, he may still submit since he drove all the way out, but one of the guys was local, so I'm hanging my hat on him. So once those are unsealed and reviewed, I'm hoping, Brian, that you and Dave Poplawski can take that over to the building committee to review for me. I mean, I can probably review them, especially if there's only two. But just if there's anything I would miss, I'd like that backup.
No problem. Let me know when it's done.
I will.
Okay. So that was the second item on progress reports. So we have
was the
nothing.
first item.
No, that was the second. Oh, well, I was talking about new business because I had put nothing under new business, and that's what I had been asking. But I guess what the progress reports. The first one was just any update on the marketing and branding plan, the Sullivan and Lashane group.
So Renee and Leslie and I of the Core 5 were available to do a review call with Sullivan Lashane after the focus group thing that we did in mid-July. So they have sent back two different iterations now, a preliminary draft with some sample taglines and stuff and logo designs. And then after Renee and Leslie and I reviewed those, they sent back a further refinement. We've sent that back out to the focus group for further comment. Renee wasn't really jazzed by the logos that they had produced. So there's, I think, still more work to be done there. What I can't really tell you because I don't have it in front of me, again, since I'm not in my office, is what the next step in that contract is. I have paid them because they invoiced us. But they're going to also, at the end of their process, connect with Kelsey over at what used to be CME to dovetail that into the wayfinding design as well.
Okay. Yeah, the next item was repair of the foundation, so we talked about that.
Yep.
Then the item 3 was the tourism brochure. After the last meeting, I did talk with Charlene, and we agreed to each spend half the EDC and the TBA.
Okay, so that agenda item for you was the Putnam map, not the Z-fold. Okay.
Yeah. And you said you already have the TBA check.
Yep.
Yeah, and I have the generate sheet here that I'll get over to you. Okay, now, Community Day, I forgot to take off the business of the year part because last month we had already decided there's no business of the year. Or what is it, person of the year? The other one?
Volunteer of the year.
Volunteer of the year, yeah. And if possible, we may do a presentation later in the year, but for right now, So like I said, I forgot to take that off when I sent out the agenda.
That's okay. I mean, there are sort of Community Day updates in that we're moving forward with that modified version, which is the
Yeah.
Upcycled Art Show will continue, and there'll be a maker fair. We've got 10 or 11 artists and crafters registered already. Leslie would like at least 20. We actually have room for plenty more, even with 10-foot separation. So, that's open until like the second weekend in September, the application period. So if anybody knows any high quality, crafters, artisans, have them register. We kept the fee wicked low because we know it's been a rough year for people who depend on that. $25 for Thompson residents, $40 for out-of-towners, which is super low. And it's proceeding. There was a question as to whether we were going to be able to get Dave Eddy to do another shed in time for that. I spoke to him when I was on vacation. We went over and did blueberry picking at his place specifically so I could talk to him. He said he could do one for this fall, but the Mason House has him too busy to get one to us by early October. So essentially I'm just going to tell him, do it for the spring and take the pressure off him that way. We've got the money socked away. He knows it. He's going to try to do 2 with the $6,000, I think. What it may end up being is one full one and a retrofitted facade to the one he already did. I think that's more realistic for him. But I'll keep talking to him about that as we work on it.
Okay. I have one question about Community Day. It's actually, I have it under NIPS for holiday cheer, but we were going to give out the gift cards on Community Day. Is that still a good idea?
Yes, we are still going to do that because we're having the last collection the first Saturday in September, which is Labor Day weekend, Saturday the 5th. And after that, we'll compile it. What we're not going to do is like a cutesy photo op ceremony thing. We're just going to tell people that they're available that day and they can come pick them up from probably Leslie, Leslie, me, or Renee, whichever one of us is running point on that. So we're a little over 40,000 nips collected, sitting in that shed, with one more month to go. August was apparently very slow. They didn't even have 1,000 come in, but
It was a fun day.
But it was a fun day, Joanne says. I was on vacation, so I did not attend the last collection. I figure for the last one, we'll probably get another little bump, but not a huge amount. But I just sent the press release out today, and I did see that Winnie posted it, announcing that last collection date. And Gary O has been a big booster on this program. He thinks it's the bee's knees, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gives it a little push between now and then, too. And then, speaking of Sullivan and Lashane, Brian Flaherty, who is our primary contact there, is also on the board in some capacity of that not-for-profit 3 Tiers for Connecticut that gave us the $2,000 in donations. So I have initiated that conversation between Brian, Larry Cafaro, who is I guess he's the executive director of that not-for-profit, and May Flexer, to see how we can organize not just the data dump to the legislature, but the photo op, the publicity piece, to draw attention to what we're trying to do and what the data is supposed to support. So hopefully we'll have something worked out soon for that. I'd still like to drive him down to Hartford and dump him on the Capitol steps, but we'll see how that goes.
I'll join you.
We'll load him into the Rambler.
You'd be surprised at how much room these things take up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wouldn't. I don't think, when you're talking 40,000 plus.
Yeah, they really filled the box truck, and they're taking up quite a bit of that shed.
Yeah. We're covering all kinds of things on our agenda here. as we go. So we just covered Community Day, we just covered Pop-Up Village, and we skipped over to Nips for Holiday Cheer. How's that for
It's all
efficient?
connected.
Yeah. The next regular item is the train wreck site.
I got a couple of progress updates. Number one is you'll recall that we discussed the possibility of a stopgap measure. We printed up 200 maps, and they include QR codes, which will link people to places where they can eat in town, places, recreation, where they can go play golf and all that, as well as trails and as well as historical. Currently, we show the last Green Valley and 5 QR codes related to the town. The brochure cost us $1 a piece. So we're going to want to see about getting a different price break somewhere along the way. And another point is that if anybody has not already done so, I will encourage you to click onto these links. I left a supply of maps at the town hall. I put some at each of the kiosks on the airline trail. But the point that I wanted to make is I observed that we list golf on the one of the links, and they include the private golf course and the one up at the raceway and the frisbee golf, but we didn't include T-Rex. So I raised that point, and I would like us to see how we can correct that. There's several other things that we'll want to correct before we do go out for print again. And I think it's a great proof of concept towards what Tira is working on with the regional thing. So I encourage you to check it out and to reply back, especially if you read through it and notice opportunity for a correction or an update. The rest of it, we had a big meeting last night with members from the National Park Service, from all the commissions and agencies within the town that are working on this project. And we're looking to how we can expand some of the involvement to include people that are not necessarily right in town, but may see it as more of a regional approach. And so we'll be rescheduling a meeting. I've reached out to a few East Coast Greenway and other people that are interested in regional trails, looking for how we can get some solid data about the economic impact as well. That's all I got.
Hey, Charlie, while you were giving the synopsis, I zoomed over online just to look at Vistaprint. Instead of going to a local copy shop that is running color copies, which is what's costing you the buck a pop, I wasn't paying all that close attention to how this brochure is being put together. But if you go through Vistaprint, you can get 500 for 167. That's single-sided. But the point being that if you're doing them in greater bulk through a service like that, you can probably get a better deal if you've got the artwork available.
Is that a single-sided map or is
The
it
woman
double?
up at Karen Printing said that, pointed out the fact, well, they've got the file now and they can print them up whenever we want. I don't know if we also retained a copy of that file because I was not deeply involved at that point of the development. But Karen,
Well, I'm sure
right.
either Renee has it or Karen has it. Depending on how it's formatted and what the requirements are for submitting through an online printer like that, I'm sure it's easy enough to take and reproduce that way. The thing is right. when you give just like a PDF copy of a full color thing like that, you're kind of stuck with color copy technology, and that is very expensive. The inks are very expensive, and it's slow.
Okay, I'm sure you're right, and I did suggest by email to the rest of the committee that worked on it that we need to review it, and I've asked you to review it if you find anything that, I spotted one error that should have been updated, but it was kind of small, and unless you really knew the background on it, you wouldn't have spotted it either, so. That particular
And-
thing says that there was a bridge scheduled to be replaced near south of Route 200, and it's done. So,
Oh, okay. And just to expand on what we discussed last night at the planning group meeting, so the Yukon Senior Design program that we took advantage of last year for the pop-up shops, I've submitted a proposal for a similar set of services for the development of the train wreck park amenity, whatever ends up being there, whether it's just permanent signage or a kiosk or a pavilion, whatever, to do that same thing. And it's free now to do that. They removed the cost for municipalities. So they'll be choosing those projects for the senior student teams within the next couple of weeks. They should be back in school, and then I think by early September they'll have all that chosen. So what the NPS partners and I have proposed is that we do a similar thing to the public workshops we've been doing, like with the wayfinding, blah, 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 but organized around the train wreck park. So members of the working group from the Historic Society and Trails and whatever, each do little pieces of presentation to describe what we're trying to do, what the value of the asset is, and then build community interest and get community input on how they would like that to look. So without having spoken to any students yet, so that's the big question mark. Based on the work that was done for us last year, I think we could target that for late fall, early winter for that workshop aspect, because that would give them time to then compile their first semester report, which, as you'll recall, was just like a written report, and then put them in a position to turn the drafting around for their graduation project. That's how I think it's likely to time out. Charlie resent me some stuff I already had, but I'm glad he did, because I wanted to be sure we were talking about the same stuff. That's going to get incorporated into that. So, it'll be a nice, tidy little project. As I had mentioned to the members of that train wreck park working group and to Trails at the last Trails meeting, what I would like to do at the end of this assistance process with NPS, in addition to having all the background work that we're developing with the volunteer group, this stuff is going to support the next round of grants that I write for it. Most notably, there's a National Endowment of the Arts grant called Our Places, I think, which is a creative placemaking grant to develop things just like this, locating you in a place with identity, with an arts and humanities tie-in. And we're going to be rich in supporting data and reports and information to submit, so that'll make it a really strong proposal.
Okay, are we set on, Charlie, I was asking, is that map single-sided?
no, it's double-sided. On the one side, there's information about where you can park. And on the other
Yeah.
side, there's a map of the airline trail in Thompson, and it shows a couple of key locations, including the train wreck site and the tri-state marker. And then, as I said, on the one side, it's just all the places to park and key points of interest. Plus, this time around, we did include QR codes that really, I was just amazed. It's the first time that I've had the technology to go over and look at the QR code for the train wreck site, which was put together by the Historic Society. And even though I'm a member of it, I didn't do that work. I got to give credit where it's due. But it's a lot of information right there, and it's just amazing at how quickly it unfolds for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason I'm asking, I mean that you're essentially talking 50 cents aside from carrying graphics, and then that price will go down if you up the quantity too.
I
So
agree.
it's
I agree.
not bad.
I didn't actually place the first order. When I picked them up, I looked at the box and I thought, gee, I was expecting more. Well, the Trails Committee had allocated up to $200 for the project. And I seem to recall that EDC or branding or somebody else had said that, yeah, they'd chip in some too. We could have ordered more, but we didn't. So, you know,
Because it's make
basically
envelope.
$1 a piece.
Hey, Charlie,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I haven't seen the final version. Does it need to be that size or does it get too small to read? Because another part of that expense is that it's legal size now. It's not the letter size, and that adds a lot to the cost as well. It also makes it that I can't copy it at home in a legal size.
That could be part of it, Brian, but I'll tell you, I know that QR codes could be a lot smaller than these are.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the QR codes. I just don't want to make the print, the directions so small that people can't decipher it. But if it can get a little smaller and still fit on a letter size piece of paper, it would save money.
It might be able to, especially if we reduce the number of QR codes. I spoke to Renee yesterday and suggested that, well, really, maybe all we needed was one for the town of Thompson, and then we look at our website and figure out what happens after you land there. You know, you click on this or you shoot the QR code, it takes you to the town's website. We can have all sorts of quick options off of there, including historical and recreational and.
Oh, I'm not worried about the number of QR codes. Like you said, they can be smaller. It's just the actual map. I mean, it's a map. It just shows a path. Yeah. It's not showing. It's not a GPS on your phone where you're expanding it and showing a restaurant here and this. It's just showing the trail and where the parking is. So I would think that maybe we can reduce that. And the other writing, if I recall correctly, is big enough that if it does go to a slightly smaller font, we might be able to pull it off.
We might be able. I'm pretty sure we can do it, Brian. I'm pretty sure we can reduce this to a smaller size piece of paper and still cover all of what we were hoping to. Again, this is a proof of concept as I'm looking at it, and it's a work in progress.
And that's what Renee did. She basically just added a panel to add the QR codes rather than attempt to shrink down the actual map. She just expanded it with that QR panel on it. So I thought, just thinking that might be an option to save some money.
No, you're right. You're right. And we did have each version available on a PDF file, but we never printed up the one that had the room that we're using now. We never printed it up, but it's been in my file since 2017, I think, is what I pulled up for that. So yes, we can do it. Or let me say it this way, it can be done. I can't do it, but somebody who knows how to work with those sorts of files could do it. And then we could probably.
So what you guys need to ask Karen, because unless I'm mistaken, she did at least some of the design work on this, is ask her if she can provide that in color separated files to an offset printer instead of full color PDFs, because that's what locks you into using that color copy tech as a means of reproduction as opposed to offset printing. Offset printing is faster. In bulk, it's significantly cheaper.
Group working with as a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want, I could go and talk to them. I'm there all the time anyway, and look at the layout and see what type of file, because sometimes they'll take a PDF and they'll convert it. So it may already be a color separated file. We don't know.
Well, if you're going to be in there anyway, you can tell her that we liked what we saw, but we were hoping we could find it a way to produce them at a cheaper price. And
No,
I would prefer to do business locally.
Oh, I do too, and they are good, and they will work with us. I see no reason why we couldn't get it into the smaller format like Brian LaFredo was talking about, and that makes, because the stock costs more when you go into the legal size. So you're paying more right off the bat before you print anything. So yeah, I'll talk to them just so we can move on from this. See if I can talk to them this week. I'll let you know. Anything else on the train wreck site, Charlie? You all set? Where's Charlie?
He's muted.
Charlie?
Charlie, you're on mute. And now he's disappeared. He must be trying to dial back in. He probably lost his connection. I can tell you that I don't have anything else on the train wreck site right now.
All right. Well, we can move on to the 6-month project to update the POCD is the next on the agenda.
Yeah, so we had our first organizational meeting last week. I want to say it was Monday night, might have been Tuesday. I don't know. They all blend. And it was just that. It was an organizational meeting to assign sections to people who were interested in working on certain topics. And then because I lost a month to the regulations rewrite process, which dragged on, it's going to be weekly meetings after that, one topic after another to pull the draft together so that we can have a completed document to refine by early December, get a final draft to P&Z to approve by the third Monday in December, and that will squeak us in right under the line for the end of the calendar year, which is when our update is due by statute. It's a really good group. Charlie has indicated interest, although he was not at that first meeting. Brian LaFredo, were you there? I forget.
No, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Joanne was there, though. So we're going in order. I don't know if anybody's looked at the prior POCD. It's fine. You know, it sort of satisfied the bare minimum regulatory requirements, and you can tell that's how it was written. It's got some stuff in it of value, for sure. I wouldn't say it's valueless, but I wouldn't call it a very thorough or comprehensive document. So, you know, me being who I am and loving to give myself too much work, I decided to make it a much more robust document, which works really because we are almost at the finish line with the regs rewrite. So that's a big comprehensive document. They can work together. The POCD is meant to be a guidance document for municipalities and for developers and for other organizations looking to, you know, work within communities. So by the end, I'd like this to be a very thorough examination, both of, you know, what we are and where we want to go. And I think the group working on it's going to accomplish that. Some things are required by the statute, housing plans, density plans, walkability, bikeability. Of course, you know, none of it's bubbling to the top of my head right now. There's a list of things that you must include, but then, you know, you've got wide latitude to go beyond that, which, of course, we will. I will say that when I get to the section on economic development, you know, I have an article and then broken down. I would like to either bring members of this commission into that drafting or have them review the product. And Joanne's already on there and Charlie's already on there, but just to have those eyes on it to make sure we're all communicating what we want to.
Okay. Next is the CME wayfinding plan and signage, IOBY.
Just waiting for Kelsey's final report. She sent us all the survey results, both of the live workshop, quote unquote live workshop, and the paper and online surveys that she did. Now she's doing all that background work, or that is the background work. She's doing all of the drafting, and I would expect by the end of the month I'll see something. I believe that contract runs through the end of September. So seems to me that that's about when I'd see at least a draft of what she's got, with the final design options. She is going to work with Sullivan and Lashane, I think we mentioned earlier, to incorporate whatever comes out of that contract for branding logos, taglines, and then part of the, who's coming in here, I wonder? Part of the scope of work is to identify potential sources for funding to accomplish the actual manufacturing of the signs, right? Because as we all know, we go through this process, we don't get a single sign out of it. That's the second step, but each step in its time.
Okay. Next up was NIPS for holiday cheer, and we talked about that. Then we have 6 months of suffrage.
Next event is this Saturday. That is a tea at Roseland Cottage. Astonishingly, we've been able to put on all of our events thus far, although most of them have been modified in some way. So this was going to be an open admission, just $40 a person. It was the only event that we had that had a cost associated with it. Over at Roseland Cottage, who've been partners with us, they are still able to host, but they are being limited to 25 participants, and they had to sell them by table. So I think they got 5 or 6 tables as a maximum. Again, everything modified, but the events are there. There's a lecturer coming in. And then the next one after that is a concert being done over at the gazebo in September. And then a Susan B. Anthony historical interpreter in October, and that actually wraps the 6 months. So if you get a chance to go to any of the upcoming events, certainly we'd like to see more participation. And yeah, it's been going really well. We were really fortunate in that we had such an animated and energized group that they really wanted to continue with all this, even with all the nonsense around COVID, and found ways to do it. So, and most places did not. Most places just gave up and said, we just can't do this year. But Thompson's followed through. We have had at least one event per month for the 6 months we claimed we were going to. So, yay us.
Okay, next is the zoning regs revision. I know you were doing the final edits.
Brian, Santos, can you take this one? Because I am exhausted from talking.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So we met this past week. I think it was the special meeting was Monday night. We did wrap up the final comments. Tira is putting together the final package now for full publication to the commission. There was a lot of back and forth on the appropriate process to vote it through, but Tira just noted that we were going to, she was going to get the regulations fully updated and then issue that out to everyone. I actually think you did that already, right? I thought I saw an email today, right?
Yeah, well, I did yesterday. I sent that final copy out. I'm going to send out an addendum to that, which is just an updated glossary. I don't know if you saw that email that came in from Donna Hall.
I did, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of suggestions she's made that I can actually incorporate at this point are some tweaks to some definitions in the glossary. So I'm going to do that and just send the amended glossary over to you guys, and that'll be the version that I put up on the website. I did, at the end of the day today, print out a full-size, full-color map so the public can come in to view it. I have the PDF, which can be, clicked on the website, and it views pretty well at like 300% if you want to get some detail, but obviously you can only zoom it around on the screen. That stuff will go up tomorrow, the draft and the map. And then Monday at the regular meeting, you have review and possible action. And all things going favorably, that will get voted on for acceptance on Monday. And then I just have to figure out, by looking at the statutory language, what the actual effective date can be. I think we had suggested the 15th of September. I think that's probably more than enough time to satisfy the requirements. So I think we'll be able to stick to that.
Yep. So not
Yay.
wanting to talk, you did a great job of talking again. Thank you.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah.
I talk too much.
I will say, I'll just say this, I was going to bring it up under comments by commission members, but I'll just say it here. After we get this thing processed and accepted and launched, I think I'd like to review it with this commission, kind of like the Cliff Notes version where it's focused in on businesses and what we've done to certain corridors, and to strategize some sort of mass marketing or some sort of strategy to get it into the right hands. And I don't know, Tira, we could talk about that offline as well. And I'm thinking maybe it's a strategy, not only with this commission, but maybe with Amy St. Andrews on the line now and Ken Beausoleil. But I just want to make sure that we've spent so much time, if not years, getting this thing fully updated and getting it right, that I just want to make sure it gets in the right hands as quickly as possible, so we can take advantage of all of our hard work on it. So
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Brian.
Yeah, I second that. For sure.
So, after we do get it launched, I'll kind of maybe working with you, Tira, hone in on the topics that we want to bring up with Brian Yacino and this group, and just come up with a good strategy. I'll just end it with that.
Sounds good. Okay, the final item, I left NatChog Epic on here only because it had rescheduled from March over to August 9th, and then it got rescheduled again to March of 2021. So it's just an update on that. And that was the end of the regular agenda. So do we have any more comments by commission members?
Outside of the one that I just noted about the zoning regs, I've been so damn slow at this processing of it. I did print that economic development webpage. I did laminate it, and I was going to go to various kiosks. It's all ready to go, and I just have continued to drop the ball on it. They're literally in my truck, and I will go do that. I just haven't had a second to go do it.
There's just never enough time.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing the brunt of the work.
So that was
Any more comments?
That was only my only comment. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Brian. Are we set for comments then? The next meeting will be September 16th. I'm leaving location TBD in case we ever decide to have some kind of a face-to-face, but September 16th, 6:30 p.m. location to be determined. And with that, if there are no more comments, I'd propose we adjourn at 7:25.
I'll second.
Is that okay with you, Ash?
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you
Everybody
very
have a
much.
good night.
You too. Thank you.
So, bye,
Take care.
Carol.
Bye-bye.